Schumacher finished a disappointing 17th place at the Belgian Grand Prix after Haas installed a huge upgrade one race earlier. Before the summer break, there were already strong rumors that it is far from sure that the fans would see Mick on the F1 grid next season. There was hope that after 2 point-scoring finishes in Silverstone and Austria, Schumacher would regain some of the speed he showed in Formula 2 and Formula 3, and which helped him secure his F1 seat at Haas. Even Günther Steiner, team boss of Haas, had high hopes that Mick would continue scoring points after the Silverstone race. From Mick at least, some of the pressure hopefully goes away and he can drive free. I hope he gets more confidence now to score more points, but we need to be careful the pressure doesn't get hyped up again and everyone thinks, now the floodgates are open, now you need to make points every time, and then the first or second time he doesn't score points, it's again, oh, he's doing badly. Despite the uplifting words, Mick fell back out off the points once again. After his 2 consecutive point finishes, he only managed to secure a 14th position at the Hungaroring as his best performance. Although Steiner has always protected his protege, he also said that if Mick wants to keep his seat for next year, he simply has to score more points. A big advantage of hiring Mick Schumacher is his link to Ferrari. Haas gets a huge discount on the Ferrari power unit for providing a seat to the Ferrari Academy driver. However, that advantage is soon to disappear. The Ferrari Academy driver faced more bad news, as according to Autosport.com, Ferrari is ending the relationship with the German driver at the end of the 2022 season. But why does Ferrari want to end their contract with Mick Schumacher? What implications does this have on his Haas seat for next year? What other options does Schumacher have, and who are his main competitors to secure the other F1 seats? Let's find out. Matteo Binotto said during the summer break to German RTL that he wasn't sure about Schumacher's driving skills. On top of that, he said at the Belgian Grand Prix, Mick has improved in the last few races, but it is still too early to judge. We will sit down with Günther and make a decision later on. Mick has been part of the Ferrari Drivers Academy since 2019, but rumors spread during the Belgian Grand Prix that Ferrari has been looking to release Mick Schumacher. Sebastian Vettel, 4-time world champion, believes Mick has proven to be good enough for F1 and said, "The Haas car isn't as good as it was at the beginning of the year, so when you can't be 5th or 6th, it is difficult to attract attention. But he is doing a good job in the background, and I hope he stays in F1 and gets a good car." After Vettel told his team, Aston Martin, that he would retire after this season, he proposed Mick Schumacher as his replacement. However, Lawrence Stroll thought otherwise and signed on Alonso. The open discussion about Mick's seat also raises annoyances from F1 drivers. Karl Wendlinger, ex-F1 driver, said to Sport 1 that he dislikes the way Haas handles this situation. "I think it is bad that the discussion at Haas has been so open. If they are not satisfied with him, then I think it should be discussed internally. If they have any interest in continuing to work with this young man, then they should work on it quietly, build him up, support him, and then bring him to his performance. With such a public discussion, I'm not sure if there is a future at all." Steiner already mentioned that they are in no rush to extend Mick's contract, but the latest news might make it even less interesting to offer him a contract extension. Mick Schumacher, according to Autosport.com, has mutually decided with Ferrari not to renew his Ferrari Academy contract at the end of this season. That means that Mick becomes a free agent from 2023 onwards and loses the support of Ferrari. Since 2019, Schumacher has financially and mentally been supported by the Italian team. They helped him secure a seat at Prema Racing in F3 and F2, and also helped him to replace Grosjean for the 2021 season. However, the lack of results and publicly open discussion about his seat made Mick aware that his time at Haas is coming to an end. Haas no doubt wants to keep the engine discounts, and the paddock talks about a third-time return of Antonio Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi has been an on and off F1 driver since 2017. He made his debut for Sauber in 2017, was a test driver in 2018, and drove for Alfa Romeo between 2019 and 2021. All that time, he has been a reserve driver for Ferrari and is now frequently linked to replace Schumacher for next year. Luckily for Mick, there are other seats available. Insiders say that Schumacher has set his eyes on Alpine. Sources close to Alpine said that the French management only wants to win in court to claim back their investments made in Piastri. They also have set their eyes on Pierre Gasly. Although Gasly just signed a new contract with Red Bull till the end of 2023, Helmut Marko said to TheRacer.com the following about Gasly's contract. "There is no exit clause in his contract, but we are willing to let him go if the right offer comes along." So how does this affect Schumacher's chances of securing a seat for next year? Mick carries a legendary name and can be interesting in terms of marketing purposes. However, his results show that he has difficulty outperforming his car like some other talented drivers used to do in the past. Leclerc and Verstappen regularly ended up in places no one thought possible. When Verstappen drove at Toro Rosso, now AlphaTauri, he frequently ended close to a podium finish. When Leclerc was driving for Sauber, he regularly ended in point-finishing places, whereas his teammate was fighting at the back of the field. The lack of special performances from Mick's side makes Alpine skeptical to sign him on. Otmar Safnauer previously said that 14 drivers have shown interest in the Alpine seat, but that only 4 are to be taken seriously, including Piastri himself. Schumacher being a free agent also means that he has no financial support from Ferrari anymore. This also makes him less interesting for a team like Williams, who has been struggling with their finances for many years now. Initially, Williams would sign a deal with Alpine to get a great discount on the Alpine engines if they provided a seat for Piastri. We know now that things took a quick turn since June of this year. Now that Mick is a free agent, his performances need to convince teams that he is the fastest driver on the market. Unfortunately for him, he is known as a slow learner and always needs a year to adapt and get comfortable in the car. His slow adapting skills makes more teams skeptical to sign him on. Even if Alpine is no option because Gasly secures that seat, then there is still one more option available at AlphaTauri. Schumacher has been linked to AlphaTauri. However, Helmut Marko has been seen in the McLaren paddock last weekend to talk about Colton Herta. Colton is a 22-year-old American driver who made his debut in the last race of IndyCars in 2018 at Harding Racing. He has won 7 races ever since and currently ranks 10th in the overall standings. Although he is not in the running of winning the IndyCar championship, he is still seen as a great talent. Most recently, Herta tested the McLaren MCL35 in July of this year. Apparently, he has shown great pace in both the test and simulator sessions at McLaren for Helmut Marko to consider him at AlphaTauri next year. The only problem is that Colton doesn't have enough FIA license points to drive F1. There is also not enough time to help him get enough points. In this case, the FIA should provide leniency to the American driver. It would be the first time since 2015 that F1 would see an American driver on the grid. Since the sport is rapidly growing in the USA, signing on an American driver might be very beneficial to further grow the Red Bull brand in North America. There is no denial that Schumacher is a good driver who had no chance to prove himself in 2021 due to a horrible car. However, Haas built a competitive car at the start of this year, but Schumacher failed to secure points, which is something his teammate did. Schumacher is ahead by 8-4 in comparable races, but he is down 11-3 in qualifying and down 22-12 in points compared to his teammate Kevin Magnussen. With the Ferrari contract coming to an end and losing his benefits, things don't look good for Mick. It seems that all available teams have their eyes on other drivers, and that we shouldn't be surprised if we don't see Schumacher in F1 next season. Do you think Mick will drive in F1 next year? Let me know in the comment section below.